Ain't no one in the NFL better than me.
Let's talk about some of these performances, Wes. It's Fluke or for real. Let's get into these guys. We're going to talk about a handful of these great performances that happened this week and break down if this is something that's a sign of things to come or whether we need to be a little bit of cautious optimism with some of these guys. So to talk about a handful of guys that had great performances and then a couple big guys. Let's just start out here with Aaron Rodgers. Blast from the past. 36 fantasy points, 289 yards, and 3 touchdowns, 45 rushing yards.
Bad man is back.
It only took him 14 weeks. A-Rod's back. Are we rolling him out in lineups? Is he the top waiver ad, or what do we think?
So they play the Rams next week, man.
He could be throwing.
They play the Rams, and
he could be throwing the ball.
I can make a case that Aaron Rodgers will finish top 10 in fantasy quarterbacks next week. With the way Davante Adams has been,
case is there, yeah,
looking like 2020 Davante Adams. Garrett Wilson's still doing great. Breece Hall found the end zone. I can see, and they got to keep up with this Rams offense. I know we just saw the worst game of our lives on Thursday night, but I mean, the Jets defense isn't all that hot. I can say for real for next week, and you gotta. There's a number of quarterbacks I would start Aaron Rodgers over then.
Sure.
I just need to see which quarterbacks are playing against which teams, but yeah.
Yeah,
I think A-Rod is back for this next week, man. Crazy.
Potentially, yeah. Oh man, we knew this guy was going to have the breakout season, preseason, off season. We knew it. Tajay Spears, 27.2 fantasy points on a whopping 5 rushing yards.
Who's this, Davante?
That's insane. 4 carries for 5 yards and a touchdown, but then 6 catches for 87 receiving yards and a touchdown. Gets in the end zone twice. I wasn't watching this game closely enough to know if that a lot of that was with Levis or Rudolph. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be next week. They may be giving up on Levis.
Yeah, I'm curious what the Titans do in the draft. Just side note.
Pollard is dealing with an injury, right? Correct?
He's been dealing with an injury on and off. I don't remember exactly what the injury.
So I don't. Yeah. Not sure how much he'll play. Not sure how much he'll play in this game, but if he happens to be out, I mean, this is. We always knew the PPR upside for Spears was tremendous, so it's just a matter of time. But I mean, like, I'm not like rushing to get him in my lineup. But if I've been holding on to him, or if I have him in Dynasty and I moved on, like maybe I'm willing to take a shot if like I had like a Sincere McCormick or somebody else that got hurt, like that kind of deal. But what do you think?
There's a flex potential for Tajay Spears in the semifinals. Tony Pollard dealt with an ankle injury, missed some time in the game, and he also lost a fumble. And Tajay Spears is a PPR guy. That's what we saw last year behind Derrick Henry. And they're playing the Colts and the Jaguars the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity that Tajay Spears could be in the lineup for semifinals in that same team's lineups in the championship. If Tony Pollard misses time, or if this is some massive, some leagues have like 3 wide receivers and 2 flex options, stuff like that. I can see Tajay Spears being a flex guy. So yeah, because I like him, I'll say for real.
Sure, yeah, we can make her. We see the path. It's there. Ty Johnson, 17.3 fantasy points. Again, another guy here that just did great on less than 10 rushing yards, but led the entire Bills offense in receiving yards. 5 catches for 114 yards. It's the second week in a row scoring double digits, but it doesn't seem like. I mean, last week maybe we would have thought so, but it doesn't seem like James Cook is going anywhere. So does it need to be an offensive shootout where there's 80 plus points scored in a game for him to be able to be relevant, or what?
Yeah, I think so. This is
Yeah.
different than Tajay Spears because James Cook still did great.
Yeah.
And Tony Pollard had a bad game. Tony Pollard had an ankle injury that he missed some time with. Ty Johnson, just that's the game.
We didn't
was an
talk about it in the
amazing
waiver
game.
wire, so we're not really convinced elsewhere. But a guy here that's maybe worth talking about is Rashad Bateman. 23 fantasy points, 3 catches for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. God, it's such an Xavier Worthy stat line. That's so crazy.
Oh, he's coming up.
But Bateman's had over 12 fantasy points and with some spike weeks in 3 of his last 5 games, and Zay Flowers has kind of seen regression in his workload and his usage. I mean, are you confident playing Rashad Bateman in the semifinals, or like is this just
no?
Do you even play?
The context of where we are in fantasy is why I'm not going to roll out Rashad Bateman. And I just looked up at his season stats. He's only got 1 week on the entire year where he scored double digits without scoring a touchdown. Like, he is a 2-3 catch guy.
He's a flashy Nick Westbrook-Akine.
He sure is.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Nick Westbrook-Akine, yeah. So there's no way Rashad Bateman deserves to be in any lineup for the semifinals.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Jalen Coker, another guy here, 21 fantasy points. You're maybe looking at things, 6 targets, 4 for 110 and a touchdown. Like, must have been really involved. Wrong. He had an 83-yard receiving touchdown. Let's do the quick math on that. If you take that away, he has a single-digit fantasy performance. He's got like 37 yards or something like that and 3 catches. Like it's less than 7 fantasy points. So I'm not. If you're considering it, don't. And all you dynasty heads out there who were like, I knew Coker was the truth. Shut up. It's so dumb. Anyway, don't even think about it with Coker. That's ridiculous. Just mentioned him, Xavier Worthy, 19.6 fantasy points. I mean, 11 targets, awesome. 6 for 46. He had 3 carries for 30 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground. Is any Chiefs skill player worth starting with Carson Wentz?
I was so
Probably
disappointed.
Can't bench Kelsey.
Probably not.
Especially because maybe Wentz relies on him a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, you throw it back to Wentz's time with the Eagles, and Zach Ertz was having a career year. So Kelsey's fine. I was so excited to say this is for real for Xavier Worthy. I was like, yeah, I'm ready. And then 11 targets. I mean, that's awesome. That's great. And without Mahomes, I just can't start Worthy. And we've talked about it the entire year. He's boomer bust. We said it during preseason. This guy's boomer bust, and that's been 100% the case. So, unfortunately, it is now a fluke.
I don't know. Yeah, I see the path.
You think
I do.
They could use him.
The 3 carries, like the manufactured kind of like opportunities, and like maybe he grabs like some of the end around and the screen game kind of stuff. So like I see the path, but I'm not. Looking at him on my roster with 19.6 and being like, oh, back in, let's go. Like, I'm not like, unless it's like a dynasty league, I'm not like rolling him back out. But
I would need to see a 15-point performance next week to consider starting him in the finals.
In the finals.
Just to understand the usage. Right, because that's the finals. That's what we're looking at here. To understand the usage, are they trying to get him the football to use his speed to beat teams? Yeah. Because they don't trust Carson Wentz, or are they going to do reverse psychology and like, oh, never mind, Carson Wentz is going to throw 45 times because you don't expect that. So Andy Reid will figure something out, and I'm worried that we'll be on the wrong end of the Xavier Worthy outcome. Yeah, so
it's tough.
I can't start him next week.
Probably not. No. Yeah, and who is to say even if the Chiefs are playing their starters in Week 17? So that's the other thing too.
2 weeks out. Yeah,
they gotta.
They got to beat out the Bills still. Bills got to lose one, and they win. I think they clinch first seed, so then they might. But anyway.
We'll see. Jalen McMillan, he's back on this and Fluke for real. We talked about it last week. We said do it again, and then he did it again. And so 5 for 75 and a touchdown, 2 weeks in a row, scoring over 18 fantasy points. We loved Chris Godwin in this offense. Like, is Jalen McMillan a guy that is, hey, like he can roll out, you can roll him out in the flex. Like, you can.
I think it's a sneaky good play in the flex option because look how Mike Evans performed.
Yeah.
There is a Tampa-wide quest to get Mike Evans 1,000 yards,
dude,
at all costs.
Oh my gosh.
They got him.
Yeah.
They got him $159, man, and it only took 11 targets, which he's used to.
Dude,
but, I mean, they're feeding him. They're trying.
My process
and I love
was there last week.
I know.
Process was there. I was just never wrong, just early. Oh my gosh. I'm so annoyed about it, dude.
That is the Noah way of Fourth Control Fantasy.
Never wrong.
Just early.
Yep.
That is fantastic. Because we throw it way back to week 1, Thursday night preview, Chiefs and Ravens, and you were saying don't start Xavier Worthy. Don't. Because he's too robust. And he had an incredible game. Opened the season, 2 touchdowns, and then just bust.
Yeah.
So Mike Evans is going to continue to have incredible games. They've got the Cowboys next week. I think that's another good opportunity to roll out McMillan, man. Mike Evans is going to do great. And they got the Panthers, and Mike Evans, it's the Panthers.
Just destroys the Panthers. Dude,
yeah.
Wait, how close is Evans now? Oh my gosh, he's still 251 yards away. Dude,
he can do 3 games. 3 games.
3 games.
You get like,
what is that? 251 divided, something like that. 251 divided
yards.
84 yards
Come on,
a game.
Mike.
No, dude, he's gonna get it. He's absolutely gonna get it. I can't wait. That's awesome. I love it.
So McMillan, very sneaky flex play.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
Mike Evans is gonna do so well. They're gonna have defense is gonna have to start focusing on him.
Yeah,
and they always do. But I like it. It's tricky. A lot of players you still start over him. But I can understand someone says, I'm rolling him out against the Cowboys. Cowboys defense is terrible. Oh, Trayvon Diggs is done for the year, too, for the Cowboys. So I can see McMillan being an even better option this week.
Their top pass rusher, Demarion Overshown, tore every ligament in his knee as well. So it's like...
Ew. Let's go for it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Let's go for it. McMillan.
That's fun. Yeah, that's a fun one. Quentin Johnston, 15.5 fantasy points. 5 catches on 10 targets for 45 yards and a touchdown. Second week in a row with over 15 fantasy points. I don't know the Chargers' schedule, but this is like a kind of similar to McMillan. Like, this is possibly like a sneaky little play here, I think, possibly. I think there's a chance.
You'll have to convince me because I still doubt Quentin Johnston as a viable option, as even a wide receiver 2 on the Chargers.
Never mind. They play the Broncos on Thursday. I forgot. Yeah, no. He'll draw the certain coverage. So, and then they get the Patriots. So they get Christian Gonzalez. Yeah, that was fun for a second, but I mean it's a good story. I'm glad to see him like doing well and making an impact on his team after like a terrible rookie year. So a
really bad rookie year. And I wonder what they do next season. Just looking ahead, what they look at the wide receiver room, because I mean, this is
they'll bring in another. I mean,
they're
I've heard a lot of people talking about
now.
It. They are, but they'll bring in a top guy. They will, and I love Lad.
Imagine T. Higgins.
Dude, that'd be crazy.
T. Higgins.
Right.
There were rumors earlier about it.
Yeah, it's I love Lad. Lad isn't like the X receiver though. So they get a top guy and Lad, and then Quentin Johnson can shuffle in there, and then Disley whenever he's back is really, really good for
Palmer,
them. So
he's been on the team for a while. That'll work. But I can't imagine anyone is going to start Quentin Johnston Or even if he's even available,
No,
I still
I'm
can't
not.
imagine people pick him up. Or who are they going to start him over? So that's a
Right.
fluke for me.
Yeah, I agree. Last one here. Tim Patrick, 13 fantasy points. Can't believe we're talking about this guy again, but he's 15 targets over his past 2 games, over 13 fantasy points in back-to-back games. I mean, again, like the path could be there, but there's so many mouths to feed at this point. So I don't know. Like, I'm not going to start him.
No.
If you want to,
No,
go
of course
for
not.
it. And you just got to hope he scores. But
no, there's no way. It's both are like just random fluke game for Tim Patrick in week 14, where Amon-Ra was basically another tight end on the field,
Yeah.
and Tim Patrick needs to be part of a 40+ offensive performance to keep pace, and you get 30 yards. So
Yeah,
that's that. Let's talk about some
big
guys.
Big guys. It's always a big guys. God, I mean, it hits close to home for both of us. Obviously, Tua with just absolutely wet his pants and shit them.
Yeah,
at the same. Yeah, it just both. Tua, was it number 1 or number 2? Both. It was both. He'd been so good, dude. He'd been so good, and then this was just.
he was on fire.
Yeah, this is rough, and I can't imagine rolling Tua out against the Niners defense after a game like this. And because I've said that, he is going to go out there and go for 350 and 4 touchdowns. But like, I watched the whole game. I wasn't red zoning during this window. I was very excited about this game as a Dolphins fan. Big game, big stakes.
Yeah.
Tomahawks, just 40-ounce tomahawks.
Oh, and, dude, hell yeah.
Steaks, dude. Get it?
Is that your favorite?
No, it makes my Apple Watch tell me my heart rate's elevated.
That's some of my favorite memories.
Yeah.
So
Shula's Steakhouse, what a place.
Though, because this was, actually it was Shula's. That's right. So speaking of Dolphins, but like this is what I was saying last week with Jalen Waddle, man. Like I was like, you could probably like go for it against the Texans. Got hurt. Okay, you can't get mad at that. I mean, you can, but you can't.
Yeah.
Say bad decision, but like my thought was you can roll out Jalen Waddle against the Texans. Don't roll him out against the 49ers, and then you can try take a shot against the Browns. So that same logic applies for Tua. And then I just say, I mean, I wouldn't even roster Tua, you know?
Yeah.
Like I can go to that extent right now, because if you want to have a second quarterback on your team going into the semifinals, then it's only because you have a quarterback that is injury prone, or you're just concerned about something. It's just a concern reason. It's like a handcuff in a way, where you can have an opportunity to get Kendre Miller, or you can get Brenton Strange, and you can just steal other people's waiver wires. So I think Tua is droppable at this point.
Probably.
And I think this is for real. And I think it relates to our next guy, to be honest.
Yeah, we got to talk about Tyreek Hill. Again, never wrong, just early. I mean, I said you don't have to start Tyreek Hill just because his name was Tyreek Hill. And I stood on that for 2 weeks and benched him in the league where I had him, in multiple leagues where I had him, and watched him have great games. And then I put him back in my lineup and benched Mike Evans for him. Oh. And I lost my week because of it. And it was brutal. It was terrible. It was just 5.6 fantasy points, 2 catches for 36 yards on 7 targets. Again, the game just sucked. It was really bad. I don't know what more to say.
Here's the only thing I can ask. This is kind of a rhetorical question, but who is this for? Who's asking this question? Because I don't know if anybody's even gotten to the semifinals with Tyreek on their team, unless they traded for him and he's their wide receiver
The
2.
guy in our league has.
So
And he has an insane team around him, but I don't know. I don't know if
you bench him. I think you can bench him. This
I
Dolphins
go
team
back
is
to what I've said. You don't have to start him just because he's Tyreek Hill. We saw
Exactly
Jonnu
true.
get incredibly more involved in this game
the
because
world.
that's Tua's confidence is through. Imagine that, like a non-speedster, just a sturdy guy who can make some catches, and we've somehow. Sorry, I'm about to rant. I don't want to do that. So I'll orchestrate a team that doesn't actually play to the strengths of the quarterback or support him and give him the best way to win a game. So anyway, I think you bench Tyreek Hill. I stand by what I said a couple weeks ago. Should have taken my own advice. Tyron Tracy Jr., 4.5 fantasy points, 10 carries for 31 yards, and then 4 targets, 1 catch for 4 yards, 4.5 fantasy points. We've always known that the Ravens' run defense is phenomenal. Like they're an incredible run defense. I believe Devin Singletary scored in this game though, on a 1-yard touchdown, if I'm not mistaken.
He had 8 points, and that must have been what it was.
So he probably scored. Yeah, he probably had 1 catch for 10 yards. And
he had more than 8 points, but yeah, he had 25 rushing yards and a score.
Okay, so
8 carries. That's what it was.
How many opportunities did he have? Any targets in the receiving game?
Yeah, he had three targets, 3 receptions. So he walked away with 11 opportunities.
Who are the Giants playing next week?
34% snap count. By the way, they're playing the Falcons. They got the Falcons next week.
Okay, this is a fluke for Tracy. I still really like Tracy. I think he's a fine play. I think he's a good play, but actually, and I think he'll be involved. I don't know who's going to be the quarterback. I don't know if it's DeVito or Boyle or my Nana or I don't know who it is. But I think
I'm not close enough to this game next week to fly out and try. But this I think is understandable for the Ravens because. For the Ravens defense to do this against Tyron Tracy. This is what I was trying to predict about Malik Neighbors. I said Malik Neighbors was going to be a stud because of Tommy DeVito, and he was. And then Boyle showed up and decided to play like a regular quarterback, and boom, 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 touchdown, boom. And I was like, oh, well, half right, but I can't take a victory lap on it. But that was the idea.
Neighbors had like 7 fantasy points with DeVito, which is what you called out was like, it's not going to happen. So obviously, if we'd known Tim Boyle was the starter, all pro Tim Boyle, we would have been like, "Oh, dude, fire up Malik Neighbors!" Like, I would have
been like, but I will say, Neighbors is quarterback proof. Very confident in drafting him next year, no matter who it is.
Oh my gosh, I saw people talk about that on Twitter this week. Was like, get him a quarterback. Like he's averaging like 80 yards a game. He's
amazing
with like Daniel Jones, DeVito, Drew Lock, Tim Boyle, get him a quarterback. Cam Ward out of Miami was the best quarterback in the nation this season.
They're gonna have an opportunity.
They're gonna have a top pick, and so it's gonna be fun. But you can start Tyron Tracy Jr. next week. And last guy here, Brock Bowers, 6.5 fantasy points last week. Less than 9 fantasy points. Here's what I want to say about Bowers is that the injury to Aiden O'Connell ended up being not as severe as initially believed. So there was thought that he might be able to start Monday night. If he's healthy, Pierce is going to play him. That's what's going to happen. We got to hope as Brock Bowers managers that he plays, that Aiden O'Connell plays. Because with Ritter, this is for real. This does not look good. But if O'Connell can go back out there and play, I don't know. Maybe they're going to look this week with either quarterback and go, we got to funnel more targets to him. But with Ritter, I'm more worried and willing to consider another guy. I'm willing to consider the conversation of Brenton Strange or Brock Bowers. I'm willing to consider that. As crazy as that sounds. But with O'Connell, Bowers is going to be fine. So that's where I rest with that. Any more thoughts on any of these guys, Wes?
Yeah, Bowers plays against the Jaguars defense next week. So talking about a tight end showdown between Brendan
Delicious.
Strange and Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bowers I think has proven through 13 weeks that he is a lock, even after week 14 and 15 being single digit games. Most people probably, I would venture to guess, a lot of people still made it to the semifinals with Bowers in their lineup.
Yeah, I'm sure
They had a good enough team. So
they probably had a first round bye if they had Bowers on their team this year. So that's.
I did.
Nice.
I had Bowers in one team. So yeah, I think he's a lock. No concern. Roll him out against Jacksonville next week.